Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of AI Prime Time, and today we're going to talk about how to do virtual assistant for enterprise scale customers and what are the top 3 key points that every time people mess up and how to really think about it and implement it in reality. So without wasting time, let's jump to number 1. Every time I get into one of this conversation of implementing virtual assistant in an enterprise scale customer landscape, the first question comes around is language. If you were an enterprise customer, probably you were working with multiple geographic locations. You have customers, partners, employees speaking tons of multiple languages, and you want to make everybody happy, right? So generally the question comes like, if you were in Switzerland, people generally ask question, can I have Swiss German supported in my virtual assistant? Or can I have French, Italian, English as well? But here, people generally forget that you are building enterprise scale solution for an enterprise customer, meaning only 3 to 4 different languages will not be enough, right? And another big problem, even if you are able to create a virtual assistant which can speak 3 to 4 different languages, you have to maintain the backend of 3 to 4 different languages, right? So probably you are using Microsoft Virtual Assistant or Bot Framework, meaning you are building LUIS for language understanding intelligence services. And if you have one LUIS for English, another for Swiss German, another for French, another for Chinese, another for Italian, then you will end up managing those many endpoints. You have to make sure they are up and running, they are delivering the right intent, and over the period of time you have to put more utterances to make them mature. So that means you are going to spend a lot of time managing the endpoints, and on top of that they are not making all of your customers or the users happy, because think about me, I don't speak any of those languages till I exist in Switzerland, right? So people like me will not get benefit out of that. So what I generally suggest to this kind of customers and a partner is, instead of asking, can you support this language, that language, can you have a translator-like service in between? And when a user asks a question, your translator will translate it to a base language on which your virtual assistant is trained and able to deliver answers, right? For an example, let's say the virtual assistant is trained and able to deliver answers in Swiss German, right? So let's say a person like me is coming and asking a question in English, and the translator in the middleware will translate that English to Swiss German because that is the base language. Now, once the translation is done, then this Swiss German question is going to be asked to the virtual assistant, and the virtual assistant can perfectly understand this language and reply back in Swiss German. But when the end user, that's me, is supposed to get the answer, it will translate back the Swiss German to English and give it back to me in English. Same goes for a Chinese speaking customer, same goes for a Italian speaking customer, same goes for a French speaking customer, for an example, right? So in this case, you have just one language in understanding intelligence service endpoint to manage, that is in Swiss German language. Every time a user comes, there is a translator who is going to translate to the user language and to the base language and vice versa. Right? So in this case, if you try to do so, then you'll be able to have a virtual assistant which can sufficiently answer in all the different languages that your translator can support, and it is definitely much more capable than just having a virtual assistant which can understand 4 to 5 different languages, right? And it has a low administrative requirement than the previous one. Now the question comes, how clever this translator service is how good it can translate from different languages to the base language. And that's a question for debate. And the way Microsoft Virtual Assistant is designed, you can choose to have whatever translation service you like and put it in the middleware. Let's say, for an example, there is a translator service XYZ, which is really, really powerful and everybody in the world use it, right? So you can definitely bring that to the middleware of bot framework and implement that there and have that translator translating the user language to the base language and vice versa. Think about it. This could be a key point delivering your enterprise scale virtual assistant to people from multiple geological locations speaking tons of different languages, right? So that's number one. Let's jump to number two. A lot of people think virtual assistant is like magic. So you just enable that virtual assistant, you just configure everything fantastically and it works, boom. No. Not really. It doesn't work in that way. So it's really not magic. I will bring my real field experience to this, and I will tell when you deploy your virtual assistant and it is to the work for the first time, you will see that there is a lot of time users are asking questions your virtual assistant is not able to understand or is not able to give a proper reply that is expected, right? So what I personally see is you need to make sure that your virtual assistant is able to understand and deliver the right content to the user based upon the need for initial 1 to 3 months of the time, meaning you need to supervise your virtual assistant backend, in this case, let's say Q&A Maker or LUIS, Language Understanding Intelligence Service. You have to monitor that for 1 to 3 months time of your deployment to be minimum, right? And this time you will see that people are asking different set of questions. So there is a couple of possibilities here. One, your bot just don't understand the question properly, but it knows the answer. Option number two, your bot understands the question, but doesn't know the answer. Option number three, your bot doesn't understand the question and doesn't have the answer for it. So you have to be ready for these three scenarios. So scenario number one, your bot doesn't understand the language, but it has the answer. In that case, you have to make sure somebody as a manager or somebody is constantly watching this LUIS backend or Q&A backend for next 1 to 3 months of the time. And when the bot get confused, they're properly tagging it, they're retraining the model and putting the model back. And for this, you don't need to write any code. You just need to go to LUIS.ai and go to your LUIS services and just modify it there, and that's it. It works, right? So you don't need to have too much technical skill or not at all technical skill to do this. You can actually do it as a manager who just understands the line of business. Option number two, let's say the bot understands the question, but it doesn't have the answer. In that case, that's a perfect item which should go to your backlog, and then your business team will prioritize that whether to roll out these options in the next cycle or not. Right? So in this way, you can prepare a set of backlog, and that will go to your development cycle where your development team will build those capabilities going forward and integrate it into your virtual assistant. Option number three, your bot doesn't understand the question. And even if it understands, it doesn't have the answer. In that case, it's a combination of two. Your manager will perfectly tag in the system in LUIS.ai what is the intent, what is the entities and stuff like that, and also push it back to the backlog items so that your development team can pick up based upon their priorities. So that's option number two. You have to make sure that there is somebody as a manager or a business functional owner or somebody who is looking at this endpoint for 1 to 3 months of the time to understand how the users are asking questions. Is my bot is enough to answer these questions, or do we need to build more functionality over the period of time and integrate it into your virtual assistant. So I have seen many times people just ignore this. They just put the bot to the work and the bot is not able to deliver the answers, and slowly the users will fade up and they will not come back to use this virtual assistant again. So you have invested a lot of money to build this virtual assistant, but after 1 or 2 months of time, you will end up with no users. So you have to make sure you work on that. Point number 3. What I have seen is many people design virtual assistant, but they forget to have an operational dashboard in place. What do I mean by operational dashboard? At any point of time, I can come back and ask you, what are the stuff people are asking to this virtual assistant? What is the sentiment of the people? How many messages you got over the past 24 hours, or over the past week, or over a month? And what is the top intent that my bot is not able to answer, right? And a lot of questions. How many calls I'm getting to the bot from different platforms, right? So there could be n number of different questions I can ask as a business owner to make sure the bot is up to the work, it is doing his job, and understand what exactly is happening or what exactly is going on with my virtual assistant. And in this case, you really need to have a dashboard which should show all this information, like how many calls you get over the period of time, and what are the things people are generally asking to this chatbot? What is the sentiment of the people? What are the questions the bot is not able to answer? And those kind of stuff, right? And what are the calls coming from different platforms? Those are the things you should, or your dashboard should be able to answer. And in this case, the first thing you need to do is collect all the logs that is getting generated out of this application and store it somewhere, and use something like App Insight to analyze that and put it in a dashboard. In a typical enterprise setup, there will be a bot which is a customer facing, but there will be a lot of skills hooked up at the back of this bigger bot, so that this bigger bot is able to answer all the different type of questions from different line of businesses to the end user. So in this case, let's say there is a main bot, which is a user-facing bot, and there are 10 different skills, right? So these 10 different skills should have their individual dashboard, because this 10 different skills is managed by 10 different project manager or 10 different business manager, who are continuously looking at it to understand what are the stuff people are asking to their skills. And they should have their individual dashboard, and this bigger bot will have its individual dashboard, right? So in this way, the team responsible for the skills are able to understand what's going on with their virtual assistant, and the team who is taking care of this bigger bot is also able to understand where exactly this bot is doing well, and what are the stuff they need to improve, or what are the things they need to change in the virtual assistant to make it much better, right? So in this way, if you build a dashboard, this will give you a holistic view, an eagle-eye view of your virtual assistant usage and people interaction with it. So these are the top 3 points I wanted to bring in front of you, and you should take care while building your virtual assistant. I hope this is helpful, and if you want to learn more, or if you have more questions about virtual assistant, feel free to comment down here and I will try to answer them as much as I can. And feel free to ping me if you need a one-to-one session on how to build virtual assistant using Microsoft Bot Framework or Microsoft Composer, Bot Composer, and I'll be happy to help. Thank you very much, and see you next time.